So the top 3 mistakes that people make when they block knife attacks. The first one is that they always consider the knife like a punch. Knives travel and move very differently to punches. They can move in round circles, they can come in really quickly, they can move in S's as I was saying, okay, they can shovel and they can change angles. So one of the first top problems when people learn how to deal with knives is that they treat it like a punch. So a punch will come in a straight line. So what they assume is because a punch can come in a straight line, a knife stab can come into a straight. And it's not actually the case. What can happen with a knife stab, it can turn, or it can stab, or it can stab really repeatedly. So it's not even a straight thrust. It's actually just a diving, plunging movement. And that goes the same with the ice pick as well. That's a downward movement, but again, they assume it's very similar to a punch. So that's the first biggest mistake. Always remember, when you're trying to control knives, okay, that they're very flexible and they don't need a lot of power. Power is where I can hit the guy, bang, and hit him as hard as I can. Boom! Really hit him and cause a lot of damage. With a knife, he only needs to nick me slightly, and then straight away I'm out of the game. So, that's the first mistake. People treat knife defense as if they're dealing with a punch. So, sorry to go on about it, but they assume that if they can deal with punches, they can deal with knives, and it's a completely different area. Next point, or the second general mistake, is the distance of dealing with that. And that relates back to what I was saying earlier. Basically, because they're assuming it's like a straight punch, they're going to use these sort of fancy ideas. Now, we've all seen it in films where people hold the knife up and you see this idea where the guy kicks the knife out of the hand. Yeah, right. Stuff of dreams. That's never going to happen. The worst thing that can happen is you go for the kick, the guy goes, and cuts your ankle. You do that though. Like, go to kick it. All he's going to do is cut your leg and stab you. Okay, so that's the major problem with that. Generally, it's a case of trying, and this is one of those mistakes, is always trying to maintain the distance which you want to do with a knife. Of course you do. But the thing is, you've got to do it strategically and cleverly. So these ideas where you're kicking and you're stretching away are really quite dangerous. Another point, and this is what I really want to finish on, and this is another mistake that a lot of people make when they're dealing with knives, is that when they do get onto the knife, which is difficult to do, they generally tend to do a 2-on-1, which is nothing wrong with that. 2-on-1 is a good idea. It's quite helpful in your own defense, even if you're reinforcing with your head, and bearing in mind the other guy is going to be punching you, bang, 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 and probably head-butting you, and even worse, if it's a knife bite, it might even be biting you and so on. But the point is, what I want to be able to do, and this is the common mistake, is I want to try to control the hand, the knuckles, okay? Because if I can control the knuckles whilst I'm being hit, I've got some more control over the weapon, whereas I go like this, and you can start to turn the weapon. So let me have the knife, please. If I'm like this and you hold the forearm, it's quite easy for me to cut and move around, and just with a flick of the wrist like this. So if I'm stabbing you and you're holding the forearm and not controlling the arm, boom, I can still cut you. And this is the thing, the last thing I'm going to show you. So pan down on this. When I go from here, what I can do is I can then break and start cutting downwards and striking. Notice how I strike into the groin. A bit painful, isn't it? So the general point is, okay, try to be realistic with your knife defense, but the most important thing is don't treat it as a punch. Thanks for watching.